Hello everyone, I would like to welcome Linda Anderson from Tap Into Your Success, who I will be interviewing today. She's going to be talking about how to overcome resistance, especially in bringing your business online and bringing your work to the world. So I will start by asking Linda to introduce herself and tell us a little bit about what she does and how she helps her clients.
Hi Kate, thank you so much for inviting me today. It's really great to have this opportunity to share with people what I do. I came to it in quite a roundabout sort of way, in that when my husband lost his job a few years ago and our kids were still very small, I suddenly found myself having to produce more income from my reflexology practice. And I thought, that's okay, I can do this. I've got the website, I've got the business cards, I've got a client list, it's going to be fine. And it was a bit of a surprise to find that it's not enough to be qualified, to be good at what you do, to have people lining up at the door to work with you. It just doesn't work like that. And of course, I didn't know anything about sales and marketing at that point. So eventually, after quite a while, I had to go and find a job. And I took a really boring admin job just down the road from the house. And for a couple of years, I tried to keep things going. So I was doing the reflexology practice in the evenings and at weekends. And after a while, I just burnt out. I couldn't do it any longer, and I had a major health crisis. So I knew something had to change, and that horrible job had to go, because that wasn't what I was meant to be doing on this earth. So I got myself some business coaching, and thought, well, this is great, this is going to be fine now. I'm going to get my message out there. And then I had another surprise, because I found that even though I was being told exactly what I needed to do, I couldn't get myself to do it. I was sabotaging and procrastinating all over the place. And I had all those little voices in my head saying, who are you to be doing this? And you don't know enough, and nobody's going to pay you for this, and why are you even bothering? So it was really difficult. Luckily, when I was looking for ways to heal the emotional roots of my illness, I'd come across tapping. And as you know, Kate, it's a really powerful tool for addressing all those things that cause us to contract and hide behind the computer and play small. So I started working on myself and started clearing out some of these blocks. And I also noticed, having thought that I'm the only one struggling with this, and that everybody else has got it sorted and they can all get themselves to do things that I can't, I just became aware that actually everybody's going through the same stuff. We've all got the same insecurities, and to have a successful business, you have to step up and become more visible to the people who need you. Otherwise, they're just not going to find you, and you won't be able to make a living doing what you love. So over the past 3 or 4 years, that's become my mission in life, to help people with tapping so that they don't have to go back to a crappy job just to pay the bills. They can actually get themselves out there in a bigger way and make a living doing what they love.
Which is great because, so many of us, myself included, have been stuck in that position where our business has effectively been our kind of side gig, our hobby, because we're just not quite ready to get out there. And it's with the best will in the world. It's not because we don't want to. You're absolutely right. I think what you said about the coaching was really, really helpful, because I think a lot of us have got the tools there already. We know what we should be doing, but for some reason we are just sabotaging ourselves. And I've always believed myself that lack of self-belief, or that, whatever stories we're telling ourselves, are the things that really hold us back. It's not lack of knowledge, it's actually lack of self-belief.
It is, absolutely. And it's all bullshit, isn't it? It's all stories we tell ourselves in our head.
Completely. Yeah. And having worked with you, I'll be quite upfront about it. I have worked with you over the last few months, and it's quite surprising what tapping brings up. I found for myself that what was holding me back was, some harking back to some really young version of myself that was just trying to keep myself safe.
Yeah,
just not appropriate to how I am working in the world as a 50-year-old woman.
That's right, that's right. Yeah, and that's where a lot of the beliefs are formed in childhood, isn't
Completely.
it? Something happens that we don't understand, and we give it a meaning from a child's perspective, and then it gets imprinted, and we start to create our life from that meaning.
So we're sort of acting, we're running our business from a 10-year-old self. Not very effective.
No, not at all.
I did actually want to ask you also about your logo, because you have a really nice mouse and Ellie the elephant, and I wanted to know what that actually meant. If you could explain to people.
I had to have that as my logo when I started to work in this particular area. because I just find it's such a useful way for people to begin to understand what's going on for them. And it just takes some of the pressure off, some of that frustration and self-criticism and self-blame. So if you imagine that your conscious mind, the rational part of you that knows you're doing great work and that you get great feedback from clients and that is setting the goals for your business, it's like a little mouse. It's riding the elephant of your subconscious mind. And the degree of power is relative. You know, if the elephant doesn't want to go in the direction your conscious mind wants to go, there's no way it's going there because it doesn't feel safe. It's all about keeping you safe. So, you know, you might think you set aside to do something and suddenly there's a lot of other things you have to do first. Really important things, you know, like sorting out your email folders or checking what's going on Facebook. And what's happening is the elephant is just gently going off on another track. You know, it's keeping you away from the thing that doesn't feel safe. Yeah, and it's doing it for a good reason. It's doing it, something happened way back in the past that taught you it's not safe to be seen, it's not safe to make a claim about what you can do, you know, all that stuff.
Oh, it's so true, isn't it? But until we understand that, how can we ever change anything? And we're just kind of stuck in this little hamster wheel going round and round, and it's like, nothing's changing, our business isn't developing, we're not getting out there online effectively, and we're not helping the people that we really want to serve.
Exactly, it's really frustrating.
So I want to ask you about the two key areas where you see resistance showing up for people.
Yeah, so what we mean by resistance is all these kind of hidden reasons why the elephant doesn't feel safe going where you want to go with your business. And the two places it shows up most are really crucial areas for any business owner who wants to grow the business. First one is sales, money and sales. You know, so you might find yourself setting ridiculously low prices in the belief that will get you more clients, when actually it will just get you different clients. One of the other things, feeling like a fraud when it comes to the point of asking for the money, when actually you know you're doing great work, and it's most times it's priceless to the person in front of you. And logically, you know, the mouse knows it, but the elephant just doesn't get it. Your emotional body doesn't get it. So it doesn't feel safe saying, pay me for this. And then you can have an apologetic tone in your voice when you quote your rate. You know, it's like a little question mark.
Oh, yes, been there before.
Would that be okay for you? And that doesn't inspire confidence in the person in front of you, because they start to feel then, well, does she really think she can help me? You know, does she really believe that I should pay for this? And ultimately that means they don't get the help they need because they won't feel safe investing with you.
Sure.
Yeah, so that's the first area. The other is, of course, visibility, marketing and visibility. And that takes many forms, you know, so you might feel resistant to going out networking or giving talks or writing copy for a web page, coming up with copy for your website. And I'm sure you find this quite a challenge when you're doing the work you do.
Yes, absolutely.
So anything that is going to kind of make you more visible, where you're having to talk about yourself and make a claim and stand in your value.
And I think also from my perspective, working with clients, sometimes I feel that what's holding them back is they're not quite ready to actually really make a stand for what they do. So they sometimes liable to kind of change their mind about their focus of their work. Oh, this is my focus. And then suddenly 2 weeks later, my copy's completely changing because actually this is my focus. And it's like, it's just because they're too scared, I think, to actually own what they're actually good at and how they really help their clients.
That's right. And that must be frustrating for you, because it's going to take then a long time to get a project completed, isn't it?
Completely. It's like, you know, goes on and on and on. And it's like, it's going to be interesting because I'm launching a new course in January and I'm going to be helping groups of people online build their website themselves. So I'm not going to be doing it for them. So I can imagine if they've got that resistance coming up that, you know, when they get to the module on the copy, it's going to all be like, and nothing's going to happen for 3 weeks, and they're going to kind of get really behind with the project. And the aim is that they will be able to launch their new website within 3 months. Yeah. So there's not going to be a lot of room for kind of, I'm freaking out now and I can't do this.
Yeah.
So what are your 3 top tips for handling resistance and getting into action?
Well, particularly around writing copy for your website. It's going to bring up that resistance, because once you're up there on the web, you are more visible. You know, who knows who's going to land on your website and see it? So it's going to bring up all your anxieties and fears about being judged and criticised and found out as a fraud, and, you know, all that stuff, all those stories we tell ourselves. All that anxiety gets triggered, and our bodies get flooded with the fears of the child from way back when, you know, where something happened and you learnt it's not safe to show who I really am. It's not safe to make a claim about what I can do. So the top tips I have are, number one, to break the task down into little chunks, into bite-sized pieces. Because if you look at the whole lot, it's a really good way to sabotage. You'll look at the whole lot and you think, oh my God, I haven't got time for that now.
Sure.
I'll never be able to do this.
Yeah, of course.
I don't want to do this. And your elephant is kind of galloping off in another direction. It's going to go and shampoo the cat or clear the fluff out from under the bed. So breaking it down into really small, doable chunks.
Sure.
And then the second thing is to put it in your diary. Make a date with yourself in your diary, 90 minutes or however long you want to spend on it. And keep that appointment sacrosanct. Keep it as faithfully as you would an appointment with a client, so that nothing else is going to get in the way. And you might want to take yourself off somewhere else than your office to do this, because when you're in the office or when you're in the house, you know, there's always something else that will start trying to get your attention, because the elephant would rather not be looking at the computer writing the copy. So I find it helpful just to go out to a cafe or somewhere where I've got nothing else with me. I've just got that piece of work in front of me. That's the second tip. And the third one, which is really important, is to pay attention to what comes up for you. Listen to those little voices. Because we've been kind of conditioned to push them away and say, leave me alone, I want to do this. You know, stop telling me that. I'm not going to listen to you. And we try to muscle through, which you can do. But it takes a huge amount of energy. And it's a bit like that little mouse trying to haul the elephant back in front of the computer. So there's that constant internal conflict, that battle going on. And it's so helpful if you can just have a mindset shift around that and begin to listen to what the little voices are saying to you, because they're all about keeping you safe and keeping you happy. And if they don't think it's safe for you to do this, they're not going to let you do it.
Sure, and that's where the tapping comes in. So maybe you'd just like to explain how tapping works, because I realise we haven't actually talked about tapping so far.
We haven't, no.
So how does it work? What would you, in a typical session, do with a client?
Yeah.
How would you work with them?
Okay, so I would trigger that resistance in them, first of all. So we'd get them to imagine whatever it is that they need to do next that is really going to bring all that stuff up. And it might be about sitting in front of the computer and beginning to write about yourself, to go on the website. That will usually bring up a lot. But we find that resistance in the body, so you'd be feeling it somewhere. It might be kind of a knot in the pit of your stomach or tightness in your chest and throat. You'd physically feel it. And your physical body is a perfect mirror for what's going on at subconscious levels. So whatever your elephant, your emotional mind is feeling will be reflected in your body. And that gives us access then to go in and work with the energy of whatever it is that's keeping you stuck. So you can use that energy to float back to earlier times where the belief was formed. And then you can start doing some tapping with that younger version of you to release the trauma, first of all, because they didn't understand what was going on. Then you can give them some new information, because you're not 6 years old anymore. You're an adult trying to run a business. And you can give them that new information, that it's okay, you can handle the business things. They don't need to get involved. They can go off and play somewhere and have some fun.
Absolutely.
Which is what people are meant to do. Not getting involved in business meetings or writing website copy. And usually those parts are really relieved that you're finally listening to them. Because when you try and push them away, because it's about safety, as you push them away, they have to push back even harder. So they'll start really screaming at you, and then you get into a real internal battle, and it's exhausting. And you don't feel good about yourself because you're not getting done what you said you were going to get done.
I mean, logically that makes complete sense, and I know, having worked with you, that the actual feeling is kind of weirdly miraculous, because you're doing this. I mean, one of the points to tap is here, and it's lovely. I mean, it just feels nice to tap here, and then you tap on your head and by your eyes and all these places, and it's great. It might look a bit weird when you're doing it, but it just releases something, and it takes you out of that headspace, which is like going, oh my God, I can't do this, it's really not going to work, into this kind of like calm state of, oh, actually, I can do this, it's great. And I'm going to enjoy it.
When I'm in my adult self, I can do it and enjoy it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's also been shown, they've done clinical trials, they've scanned the brain while people are tapping and tuned into something that upsets them. And they've shown that when you're doing it, you're sending a message to the amygdala, to the fear centre in the brain, and just telling it to turn down the stress response.
Right.
Because when you think of it, when your body's flooded by the fears of a child, it's a totally out of proportion response to whatever's going on in front of you now.
Completely.
So tapping then can just turn down that stress response, and it lowers cortisol and all the stress hormones in the body. So you do start to feel calmer, even if you haven't gone back and addressed whatever it was that set the thing up in the first place.
So it isn't just woo-woo, it's scientifically proven.
Absolutely, clinically proven.
Thank you, that's the right term.
Yeah, and really simple to use.
Absolutely.
Anybody can use it. I have children coming here who absolutely fly with it because they don't need that logical explanation of what's going on. They just feel it, and then they teach their friends, and they say, "Mummy, you need to tap when she's angry."
Oh, that's lovely.
Yeah.
And the great thing is, obviously, once you've got those skills, you can do it yourself. So it's not like
Absolutely.
you're only limited to doing tapping in a session with you. As a client, you can take that away, and whenever you're having a moment, it's like, oh, I just really need to release something here.
Yes. And I'm very keen that people learn how to use it for themselves. I don't want to make them dependent on me, because it's so easy to use.
Completely.
And it's a tool for life.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So just to wrap up, I know you're offering a free download to everyone who's watching this video. So I just wanted to maybe wonder if you can talk a little bit about your download and how it will get people started in the tapping sphere.
Thank you. So I've created this quiz because a lot of the stuff is hidden way below conscious awareness. So I've got a 4-part quiz to help people start to become aware of where they might be blocking themselves, particularly in relation to money, but also just in terms of visibility and success. So it's a thing where you just go through answering these questions, rating how true does this feel? How true does it feel to the elephant, to the emotional mind, to the body, not to the mouse? Because the mouse thinks it's in charge, but actually the elephant's running 95% of our daily behaviour, and it's the elephant that has you off clearing the fluff out under beds or just checking Facebook before you start working on your website. It's that part of the mind. So until you have conscious awareness of those things, they run you.
Wow.
So that is the first step to freedom, is becoming aware of, what are these blocks, what are the limiting beliefs, what are the traumas that I've experienced in the past that are making me contract now and not be able to stand in my power and feel confident offering my gifts, And we're all here with something special to give, aren't we?
Completely. And it's so sad when, you feel yourself not able to do that and you see others in that same position. But it's like, just please get out there. It's like what you're offering is so valuable. It's so helpful to people.
That's right. Yeah. And I think that's part of the shift, that we're all here with something to give.
Absolutely.
And it's time for us to step up and do it. But we need some help. And I get help for my stuff, There's no final destination with this, because every time you take a big step, more of your stuff is going to come up.
It's so true, isn't it?
Yeah, and rather than seeing that as a problem, I just invite people to celebrate that they're finding it now. It's coming up into conscious awareness, and they can start to release it. Completely. Whether it's with tapping or any other kind of mind-body technique, but it can be healed.
Great, so that's really helpful, Linda. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you.
If you point below, you will see the link to find out more about Linda and to download her quiz she was just talking about. And I look forward to continuing working with you in the future to unblock my own limitations that will stop me getting out there in the world. Thank you so much, Linda. Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye. Bye.